Hello, everyone. Thank you very much for being here today. My name's Mark Sewards. I'm the chair of the Outer West Community Committee. And today we're holding our meeting this evening at Leeds Civic Hall because it's got live streaming facilities and the other facilities out in the community, the other places we could have had the meeting aren't open at this time. So that's why we're here tonight. Today's meeting has been live streamed on the council YouTube channel so that the public can observe the meeting without needing to be present. So before we get going, what I would like to do is first of all pay tribute to the former chair, Amanda Carter. I'd like to thank her for her years of service as chair of this committee. She was incredibly welcoming when I was elected as a councillor in Farnley and Wortley 2 years ago. And I do want to pass on my thanks to her for her service. Now I'm going to go around the room and I'm going to ask everybody to introduce themselves. In order for it to be picked up on the microphone and on the live stream, you must press the button that says press to speak. And then once you've finished speaking, unpress the button. So I'm going to start on my left with Tasha.
Hi everyone, Natasha Prosser and Clark to the meeting.
Good evening, Councillor Dawn Seary, Pudsey.
Good evening all, Councillor Simon Seary, Pudsey Ward.
Thank you. Councillor Peter Carlisle, Cavalier and Farsley Ward.
Good evening, Councillor Craig Timmins, Cavalier and Farsley Ward.
Good evening, everyone. Councillor Trish Smith, Pudsey Ward.
Hello, Councillor Kate Hay, Farnley and Wortley Ward.
Good evening, Councillor Adrian McCluskey, Farnley and Wortley Ward.
Good evening, Rachel Marshall, Programme Manager in the Communities team.
Good evening, Natalie Smith, Localities Officer for the Outer West area.
Brilliant, seamless. Thank you very much, everyone. And just for the record, I am a councillor for Farnley and Wortley too. Right, I'd now like to ask the clerk to go through agenda items 1 to 5.
Thanks, Chair. Agenda item 1, there's no appeals. Agenda item 2, there's no items which require the exclusion of the press and the public. Agenda item 3, there's no formal alert items. Agenda item 4, members to declare any interests. Take silence as none. And agenda item 5, apologies from Councillor Andrew Carter tonight.
Thank you very much. Okay, at this point, we're now going to the open forum where any member of the public is allowed to contribute. We dedicate 10 minutes to this time slot, and we ask that people who are contributing speak for no longer than 3 minutes. Although given that we only have one member of the public here, I think it's fine if I'm a little bit liberal with that rule. Please, can you introduce yourself and say why you're here to speak?
I'm Geoffrey Houseman. I'm here to speak about the proposed development at the bottom of Longfield Drive, Moss Bridge, basically, and its limited use availability.
Brilliant stuff. And would you like to tell us exactly what it is you'd like to talk about?
Well, I think the bridge is inadequate for several reasons and some safety aspects. But I've lived in Rodley for 60 years, so I've got a good idea of what I'm talking about, and I use this bridge daily. It's taken an average of 20 minutes really to get through, and that there's some people that take over an hour. I was speaking to somebody 2 days ago who spent over an hour trying to get through that bridge. So that meant that the bridge is out of use. The bridge is very narrow. It's about the width of a cricket rug, wicket to wicket. That's the limit of the bridge. When it's open for the barges, there's no access whatsoever to any of the sides. The facilities at the other side of the water, which you would not be able to get to, well, this is happening. There's a cricket field, a rugby field, football field, a nature reserve, and towpath, which are junctions onto it, obviously. And a lot of disabled people use it. And a lot of people with heart conditions use it because it's a level place as a canal, and the doctor recommend that they don't use it to go in the hills. And so it's used, and I'm worried about the health facilities because there's a serious disadvantage. The cricket club is virtually, it's amateur, but they play to nearly a professional standard. So if one gets hit with a ball, and that's when it's at access use. And bear in mind that half the time you can't get through because it isn't a road two-way traffic, it's one-way traffic. So if one's leaving, the people who are coming in can't use it and vice versa. There's very little opportunity for people to use it who are disabled. when they put the new bridge in, they took about 10 parking spaces, which disabled use, because could you get the wheelchairs out? And so they haven't been replaced. The new bridge, they've raised the bridge. Before, the towpath was level, so the people could use it. But now it's become wheelchair unfriendly because they put a slope on it, which you can't take a wheelchair up. A lot of people have the partners, they come with the partners, the wives or the, and when it comes to this hill, they can't do it. So they have to use the other bridge, which is blocking that road up, the next bridge. The amount of people who are using, I don't think people fully appreciate the towpath is used by prams, joggers, you name it. There's every sort of people using that bridge. And they just in the facility, that bridge doesn't merit what it's being used for, as I say. And I don't think people are aware of it. And there's plans going through for an housing estate to be built on the other side. And the bridge isn't fit for purpose. And everybody in Rodley knows it. I think you can get it on YouTube and everybody calls it the bridge from hell, who uses a canal. So it's quite well known that the bridge isn't adequate. And so till they can find a proper way of getting this bridge, or at the present time, the bridge isn't fit for purpose and they're going to need to try and increase the purpose, and it just causes things. There's limited space to come across the bridge there. There's space for 3 cars, then you've got to back up onto Rodley Town Street, which means people who are trying to get to work from Carvley, which use that road, also block it up. So then now they're starting to use it from the ring road and come through Horsforth. That also is getting jammed up. So for facility, I think the people of Rodley want to know, when you consider the people who live there rather than pounds, what people are saying we'll put into the area, because the quality of life, this area now has become so functional because there isn't any cars there and everything is in traffic jams. But I think they're going to create it. By nature, there isn't any facility to park a vehicle there. The nature reserves have said that they don't want their car park virtually using. The cricket club said that they don't want theirs using, because the park as it is, it's just horrendous. So one side of the bridge at the moment, there's spaces, and I might be exaggerating, for 8 cars when they want to use bridge, and that's an exaggeration. And for 4, well, perhaps 5 cars before you start backing up into Rodley Town Street. The situation is a disaster, and for the people there. And when the development goes through, if it goes through as it is at present, Longfield Drive, which is opposite, there's a crossroads, by the way, there. You've gone 50 yards before you come to a crossroads, and you've got to go over towpath, well, virtually 3 metres away. You're on towpath, which are used by cyclists, joggers, everybody who wants to get away from traffic and wants to be able to use this facility. And I think if this bridge isn't improved, or there's some facilities, we'll lose that facility in Rodley, which will be to the detriment of the residents in Rodley and the whole area, really. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jeff. At this point, I'd like to invite the councillors to come in with any comments or questions that they might have. Councillor Carlisle.
I can come in, thank you. Yeah, thanks, Jeff. Thanks for coming along, because the real, you've highlighted some of the real difficulties there. A couple of things that I think are worth pointing out, because the bridge has been approved through planning, but what it states in that planning is that it must be able to open and close for boats within, I can't remember if it's 7 or 8 minutes. Yeah, but obviously Jeff's pointed out there's been times when that's been 20 minutes or much longer. Sometimes because it's very complex to do the workings of the bridge, sometimes because it has had faults and it's been left where it couldn't close and return back to giving access across for many hours. So that's a real big problem. The breakdowns are then the issue that it could be left with no access being able across, or no access for boats, depending where it's stuck, for at some point several days, hasn't it? Now, all of that months, yeah, all of that is conditioned for when the development comes forward, and the development has been approved. And Councillor Smith, you were on that panel as well, so you've had the detail as well on that, haven't you? The real difficulty we have at the moment is that it's conditioned that that bridge needs to function as this when the first resident moves in. At the moment, as far as I'm aware, there is no developer looking to build on that site, and the original developer had pulled out. So I think the real problem, as far as I see it, is who's going to look after ensuring that that bridge works until we can apply that condition on the developer. And then it will be the developer that has to do that, as is conditioned in planning. But if that development never comes forward, we will be left with a faulty bridge. So I guess that's where I see the key issue is. I don't know whether Jeff would agree with that or anyone else wants to come in.
Go ahead, Jeff.
Yeah. I was at that planning meeting also. And the people who put the planning application in said that there would be never a problem like that because they've got replacement parts in Barnsley and they'd have the bridge working within 24 hours. The first time they needed a new part, they said, we're having to send to Germany for it and it'll be a month or so. So the planning application to me isn't worth the paper what it were written on. Once they said that they got the replacement and they couldn't substantiate it, first emergency what they got, or the bridge had to be out of action for a month or two.
Would any other councillors like to come in on this point? Go ahead, Councillor Smith.
Thanks for coming and thanks, Chair, for letting me speak. As you know, I was a member of the plans panel at the time and I voted against this. I don't believe it's a very good option for people to be marooned on an island with an unsatisfactory bridge. I think your concerns are very valid and I think the concerns of the people of Rodley are very valid. And I think that probably Councillor Carlisle and I should probably take them back to the planners and ask if there's anything we can do. As has been said, I think we're very, very limited because we don't have a developer. The planning condition has not come into play yet. And I think that there's a very limited scope that the planners can actually do at this stage, but we can certainly raise it and make them aware. And see if there's anything else indeed that we can do, perhaps a joint letter to the Canals and Rivers Trust or something like that, and Yorkshire Water as well. Just something to try and help the situation, if that would ease your worries a little bit.
Could I just answer that? I agree with everything. Basically, the bridge isn't fit for purpose and it never will be. It can't cope with what it's got. And so when you ask it to do even more, and I mean, properly it can't work because there's other people trying to get to work. And when there's a bridge stuck there and they're waiting for over half an hour, up to an hour. Also, all these things, when you actually come to it, they make these fine speeches at the developers at these meetings that have got all covered. Just now, there were a piece of paper to give them instructions. We've got a big sheet of instructions which are useless to boat people from what they tell me. And there were a piece of paper stuck, what somebody who uses it had put on, and now that's disappeared. So they're all stuck again because they try to follow instructions and it won't. Also, I'm not very good at public speaking. So the thing about this is when people come and you get past this permission to build a bridge, and you've said you've made a fine speech and you've explained all the situation and that you've taken all eventualities into consideration. And when you find out that we're all talk, should that planning permission still go forward when they've made these assurances to people which are invalid? They're invalid within weeks of them saying it.
Thank you very much, Jeff. As we're approaching the end of the public forum, Councillor Smith, Councillor Carlisle, would you be okay drafting something that we could send on behalf of this committee to the people that you named, to the organisations that you named? Excellent. Thank you. That's much appreciated. Jeff, thank you so much for making the journey down today. We really appreciate it, and thank you for your contributions too. Yeah, brilliant. Thank you. Okay, that concludes the public forum then. So we're going to go to item number 7, minutes of the previous meeting held on Wednesday, the 14th of February. Feels like a little while ago now. Do members accept these minutes are a true and accurate record? If you would like to raise anything about the minutes, now is the time to do so. Go ahead, Councillor Carlisle.
Thank you, Chair. There was something I wanted to raise and I'm just frantically looking for where I highlighted to find what it was. So just give me 1 second. Through the long minutes, it was one of the updates that came up. Oh yeah, sorry, yeah, that's right. Thank you to my able colleague, Councillor Timmins there. It notes in the declaration of interest that I declared my interest as a member of Carverley in Bloom. I declared my interest as the chair of Farsley in Bloom. Just to be sure that's true record.
Thank you. Yeah, that's important. We okay to correct that? Great, we can do that. Any other matters arising? Right, brilliant stuff. We'll move on to agenda item number 8 then. This is the social values in procurement update. I think the person who is going to give this update can't be with us tonight. There's a family emergency. So I was going to suggest that we defer this item to the next meeting when hopefully they'll be available. Is everybody okay with that? Great stuff. We will move on. Agenda item number 9, community committee appointments for 2024-25. I'm going to hand over to Tasha now to go through each of the roles, who we need to appoint and who we need to confirm.
Thank you, Chair. So page 19, Community Committee Appointments 2024-2025. This is the annual report of the City Solicitor. Requests members to make appointments to the positions detailed on page 20 at paragraph 6. If we could just go through them one by one, so all the appointments in that table are up for review, and I've highlighted where we do have some vacancies where former councillors were appointed to them. So I'll just go through that table if members are happy with that. Thank you. So we'll start with the Children and Families Cluster. So currently councillors Peter Carlisle and Simon Sarah, you are on that. Is all members happy to keep those? Yeah. Perfect. Children and Families Cluster, Councillor McCluskey. Are all members happy with that one? Thank you. Outside bodies, so the Farsley Charity. So although this is an indefinite appointment, we do have a vacancy for this one. So I'm looking for one member to join that one if we have. Oh.
There is an issue, Councillor.
No, it's not an issue. I believe from previous, the Farsley and Carverley charities, it's actually written in that the ward members of Carverley and Farsley are on those. So the vacancy, as far as I understand how it's written, should go to Councillor Timmins on that. As I understand, they're charities that the council is the trustee of, but the report of it dedicates that it is the councillors for Carverley and Farsley that join it.
Thank you. So I guess the same with the Carverley Charity as well. Yeah, thank you.
Happy with that.
So we move on to the Borough of Pudsey Charity.
Okay, so there's 3 places. Am I missing 3 of the places? We've got Councillor Dawn Seary, which is fine. Councillor Smith's put herself forward. There should be a 3rd place. Go ahead.
Councillor Andrew Carter's just over the page. He has contacted me to say he's absent in this meeting, but he would like to continue in this role.
Thank you. That's good to know. So it would be Councillor Seary, Councillor Smith and Councillor Carter. Does anybody have any objections to that? No. Okay, we proceed. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chair. So we move on to champions and we go to the Children's Services Champion. So there is 2 places for this one by the looks of it. And we do have a vacancy on this one as well as yourself, Councillor Carlisle. Does anybody want to put themselves forward for this one?
I can comment. I think it's down as 2 places because we've previously done a job share. I have done the role on my own before, so I'm perfectly happy to. I think Councillor Smith's done it previously with me as well, and Councillor Forsyth previously did it as a Farnley and Wortley member. Perfectly happy to do it on my own as the champion if people prefer. I was looking at wondering whether because it contains such a lot, I might have a thought about whether it's useful to have a subgroup or similar for that anyway, so that members from the wards can get involved. But that's something we'll discuss further. Happy to look into if members are interested in that.
Apologies, keep forgetting that. If needed, I'm happy to step in as well, so whichever.
Are we all happy then if Councillor Carlisle and Councillor Smith job share for this role? Excellent. Tasha?
Thank you. So environment and community safety, there is a vacancy for this one. So I am looking, sorry, will you come in?
I'd like to put myself forward for this one, if I may.
Is everybody okay if Councillor Timmins goes ahead? Yeah, excellent. That's done.
Same with employment, skills and welfare. I do need someone to come forward. Thank you.
Happy to nominate myself, Chair.
Everybody happy with Councillor Haig? Excellent. Nods all round.
And then we move on to health, wellbeing and adult social care. There aren't any vacancies on it. I'm just looking at Councillors McCluskey and Carlisle if you're happy to stay. All members happy? Thank you. Not finished yet. So we move on to the local care partnerships. West Leeds LCP.
Well, I was just going to raise that the Armley, Bramley and Workley, I know I've jumped the gun a wee bit there, but it said it's vacancy. I've been doing it for the last year.
Yeah.
Maybe a technical error. I will correct that. Thank you. Are you happy to remain on that one?
Yeah, I don't think it was the full year. I think it was after I met somebody at
Okay.
one of the community committee days.
Corrected and noted. Thank you. And then the corporate parenting board, Councillors Carlisle and Trish Smith.
Everybody happy? Yeah.
Perfect.
Okay.
That is the end of the appointments report. I'm just asking members to also note appointment of Councillor Sewards as recently appointed at full council. And I believe Councillor Sewards is liking to appoint a vice chair.
Yes.
I'll hand it over to him.
Hi, yes. So the vice chair, although not an officially recognised role in the paperwork, I think it's an important one to appoint this year because of circumstances outside of this room, circumstances surrounding, myself. So Councillor McCluskey, I've nominated him to be vice chair of this committee so he can step in if I'm not available for any reason. Does anybody object to that appointment?
You happy, yeah?
It's first he's heard of it. Good. Okay. Congratulations, Councillor McCluskey. You are vice chair.
That is the end of the report. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. If you could all just turn now to page, I think it's 31. So the next agenda item is the community committee subgroup nominations, and we have one. I have to go through each of the people that are on the subgroup and decide if we are replacing them or if they want to be reappointed. So this is the environment and community safety subgroup. Previously, we had Councillor Amanda Carter, Councillor David Blackbird on there, and also Councillor Simon Seary. That leaves two vacancies. Councillor Simon Seary, are you happy to continue? Fantastic. That leaves two other places. Go ahead, Councillor Carlisle.
Can I nominate, as Councillor Timmins will be the champion for that role, and I think there's one representative per ward. Can I nominate Councillor Andrew Carter, because I think it's fair then that two members from the two different groups we have in the ward are then part of that subgroup as a replacement for Councillor Amanda Carter.
Is everybody happy to proceed on that basis? Yeah. Okay, sorted. Thank you very much. So that concludes that item. Going on to the finance report, but just before we do move on to the finance report, Natalie raised something about the minimum conditions. So I'm just going to invite her to talk about the minimum conditions now, what they are, and what we might do with them in future as a committee. We're not going to make any decisions on this today.
Thank you, Chair. It was just, as you know, every June that we look at the minimum conditions to see if we want to keep the ones we've got or change those. So at the minute, so basically it's about decision making. As you'll see on the first page of the finance report, it's paragraph 14. Other committees do things differently where they split their money for the wellbeing. So it was just a conversation around whether members are wanting to keep things as they are or whether they would like to see any change in the way that their funding is allocated.
Thank you, Natalie. Do we have any contributions on this point? I'm more than happy to come back to it after you've had time to digest it. We'll do the finance report first. Right, go ahead. Finance report. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. So I'll start off with the wellbeing budget then, that's on page 35, paragraph 19. So this year, 2024-25, there was the amount of £72,777 awarded, bringing the balance forward from 23-24 and minus projects brought forward from then. The total allocated is £100,356.95. As you'll see from table 1, we've got the ring fences and we've also got the projects that have been agreed. So altogether, that's a total of £87,688.65, which means then there's a remaining balance of the wellbeing budget, which is £13,648.40. I just want to bring to members' attention that we have ring-fenced building futures together at the last committee meeting. You might remember in February. I have spoken to John at the Building Futures Together and they're not needing that funding. They've secured other funding and they've got reserves. So potentially that could be put back in the pot. That's something to think about. Good. There's been no declined projects and there's been no projects withdrawn. So since the last committee meeting on the 14th of February, there are 3 projects to consider, all of which have been ring-fenced, so they're not brand new. So I'll just go through those then. The first one is the Outer West Targeted Deployment Operations, 24-25, slightly different application to previous years. It's going to be more based on kind of intel from councillors and issues going forward, not just about the road safety. They've asked for £4,980 in the February meeting. Members ring-fenced £5,000 for this.
Thank you, Natalie. So as Natalie's explained at the February committee meeting, we already ring-fenced and protected the money for this, but that doesn't mean it's approved. And obviously we've got new members here today as well. Comments, questions on this application? Does anybody have any contributions? Councillor Haig.
Thank you. You said something about using members' intelligence to direct how this money is spent. Could you just explain that a bit further, please?
Yes, Councillor. So they put in the application that they're kind of open to speaking to members. So if there's problem areas that they would particularly like to look at, depending on obviously capacity, that they would be speaking to yourself regularly to see where the hotspots are. So for example, if the bus station started up again or somewhere in Farnley and Wortley, if we speak to the inspector, then we'll see what they can do staff wise.
Councillor Siri.
Thank you. Yes, Chair. Yeah, I think it's a really good project. We've run it for a couple of years, aiming at the fatal 5, but it's really good where you can use speaking to the inspecting team and target where we need to go. So it's it's a really good value for money, I think.
Thank you, Councillor Siri. Any other contributions? In which case, are we all happy for this project to go forward? Fantastic. That looks unanimous. Thank you, Natalie.
Thank you, Chair. So then the next one will be Farsley Festival by Farsley Community Initiative. Again, this was something that was ring-fenced by members. So we've ring-fenced £4,000. That's what they've asked for. They've got match funding. That's due to start on the 22nd of June. It's just for one day. Yeah, thoughts?
Any thoughts or questions on this? No, everybody happy to proceed? Excellent. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chair. So the last one then for the wellbeing is the public space CCTV cameras Outer West. You might remember that in February, members ring-fenced £10,000. The actual amount they were requesting is for £11,000 because of 11 cameras. So just thoughts on that one.
Councillor McCluskey.
I have concerns over this one. We have 2 cameras, both right where we had serious incidents of destruction of a brand new notice board that was never used, a brand new electric bus that was hardly used. At the other site, asked for CCTV images, and they don't service any purpose. I have real concerns that we're not getting any value for money over this. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions or comments further? Councillor Searing.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I think we've previously raised it where are we getting value for money from, Leeds Watch. I've noticed in the small print it's over £1,000 just to decommission a camera. So I think we need to keep going with it, but we need to get a lot more detail and a lot more engagement from the team. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Searing. Councillor Haigh, Councillor Carlisle, and then we'll go to McCluskey.
Chair, would it be possible to invite Leeds Watch to come to a future meeting so that we can actually have a proper conversation with them about what it is we're getting and what we can do with the information?
Absolutely. Councillor Carlisle.
Thank you, Chair. I was looking at the monitoring report later on, actually, in the report, in the update report. And I noticed there were uses of the camera that weren't reported there that I noticed they'd been used for. I've actually just realised now that it's because we've got 4 in Farsley and actually there's only 2 in Farsley on the monitoring report. So we don't appear to have got, are you able to ask for that further detail back? So it says we've got 323, 324, 325 and 326, but there's only on the monitoring later on 2 of those. The reason I noted it, yeah, only 324 and 325 are noted. The only reason I noted it is I know instances where they've been used for antisocial behaviour. In fact, the footage wasn't good enough for it to end up being used, but I know that they were drawn down and I noticed it wasn't on the report. So regardless of that, we've got some missing information that is showing that we haven't even got the full list of where it has been used, regardless of making a judgment as to whether it's been used effectively or not.
Councillor McCluskey.
It really was to confirm what Councillor Haigh was saying. I think we could do with meeting and finding out why are we not getting information and how can they be better reported on, as Councillor Carlisle just stated.
Councillor Smith.
Thanks, Chair. This is an annual problem for me. Every year I raise that we are not getting value for money out of these cameras. I'm loath to say, we don't need them because we do need them. But what we do need is proper monitoring and proper reports brought back to us. And we've asked for this time and time again. And the monitoring report, para 30, we've got 11 cameras. They're monitoring 8 of them. They're saying that the other 3 aren't even on this report. Have they not been triggered? Have they just forgotten them? Did they not fit on the Excel spreadsheet? What's going on? Out of the £11,000 a year that we're paying for, we've actually got 45 instances where they're saying that they have been triggered and are useful to us. That doesn't represent good value for money. We could pay for another police officer with that and get better results. I do think that we need much better monitoring and much better reporting.
Thank you, Councillor Smith. Councillor Timmins.
Hiya, just listening to the other councillors. I'm just wondering if this is a decision we can defer until we've got the information that's requested, because for myself as a new councillor, I don't feel that I've got the information provided to me to be able to vote either way on it.
So obviously, by all means, anybody come in and correct me. The risk with deferral here is that the cameras get switched off. And if the cameras get switched off, they may risk missing an incident that they actually can capture and punish and prosecute. So my strong preference, although again, I'm happy to be corrected, would not to be to defer. So on the application itself, I will just say a few things. First of all, Councillor McCluskey is absolutely spot on. It was devastating to lose that notice board as quickly as we did, especially after spending that money for that community. That community deserved that notice board, and it was destroyed after a day, and then the cameras were no help there. On the buses that Councillor McCuskey referred to, I do have to say a special thank you to the police and to the community, because we were able to bring those responsible in, and we have been able to, and please touch every piece of wood you can find, we have been able to prevent any future incidents there. But clearly, with the issue on the cameras, we do need far more information than we are getting from Leeds Watch. So Councillor Haig's spot on. We are going to invite them. We want them to attend, and we want them to spell out exactly what we are getting for our money. Because I'm sure I'm not alone in this. There are other places in our communities that we all represent that are asking for security cameras. And it's understandable why. I mean, even the presence of one might be said to deter crime, but if it's not picking anything up, and if it's not being used as a tool to punish those that, you know, essentially commit the crimes, then why on earth are we spending all this money? So my strong preference would be to spend the money, to spend the 11,000, but to get Leeds Watch in to explain exactly where that money is going. I'm happy to take any further comments. Smith.
Leeds Watch have been in fairly recently and invited councillors to attend the site at Middleton. We've got new councillors. That would be very useful for them, I'm sure. I mean, what they do is absolutely fantastic, but you know, I don't think they've got the resources to actually monitor effectively, and therefore we as a community are missing out. We can't switch the cameras off. We do need them. As you say, you know, it's a deterrent, and they might just catch something. But you know, we do need to get more bang for our buck.
So let's see.
Thank you, Chair. Totally agree that we need to keep funding this, but we need to try and get something better out of it. You know, it might be that we say, right, let's invest £15,000 a year and actually get something tangible out of it. But yeah, I agree. We hold them to task. Thank you.
Thank you. Any more comments on this item? I suspect we'll be talking about it quite a bit this year. Right, in which case, are we all happy to proceed and give them the £11,000 they've applied for? Thank you very much, everybody. Councillor Haig.
Thank you, Chair. It's a question about the funds allocated and ring fenced at table 1. And I just, as someone new to this committee, just want to understand a little bit about a couple of them. We've already discussed that Building Futures Together no longer require that ring fence, and that's released some money for us. But how, with issues like small grants and skips, how are they allocated? So if a councillor or an area wanted skip, how's that decided upon? Who makes those decisions? How do you get them?
At this point, I'll bring in Natalie.
Thank you, Chair. So it's allocated, so it's just done by an email decision rather than bringing it to committee. It's done by our ESOs, our engagement support officers, so they will send, if they get an application in, they'll send an application out by email, and that's how a decision is made rather than coming to committee and having to wait for that. The skips, there's a new process with the skips, I might just need clarification, but as far as I'm aware, scripts are requested and we don't order the skips anymore. We give the organisation the money for the skip.
Sorry, so it has to be an organisation that requests it. So if a community was requesting it, an estate, how would they get a skip? Through.
Thank you. If there is an organisation, that's great. If it's just an individual and it's, I don't know, that they want to do a clear up or whatever, as far as where councillors can ask.
Councillors are looking at service housing.
Yeah.
With the opening in neighbourhoods.
Yeah, so we can go through a service, for example, like to do an estate action day, and housing can ask for a skip if that's what they're doing, or it can go through a cleaner neighbourhoods team. So there's different avenues if it's not an organ, because sometimes it's hard to get one person, you know, with all the documents and stuff together. There are other avenues. So if there's something that you're thinking about, just give me a shout.
But councillors can put in requests through.
Yeah, councillors can do it themselves, but again, we can help you with the application.
Thank you very much. Let's proceed with the rest of the finance report.
Thank you, Chair. Sorry, just on the back of the Leeds Watch, the head at Leeds Watch did say that he would come in and have a conversation, so I can get that organised for next time. So that's the wellbeing, the YAF ones. We've got no applications for the YAF ones, so I'll just quickly go through the figures. That's starting on page paragraph 29 on page 38. We've had the money this year is £33,433. That's the allocation. So with the bring forward balance and the schemes that have been approved, there's £48,248.62. We've got table 2 with the ring fences. There's only 2 on there, and then there's the approved projects. So we've got the remaining balance then of £8,250.19 remaining for the rest of 24-25. And then lastly, we've got the small grants and the skips, which is on paragraph 39, page 40. We've just got 3 small grants that have been approved, spending £1,465.17, current balance of £3,534.83.
Thank you very much, Natalie. Are there any questions, comments, contributions on the finance report before we move on? Good. Okay, happy to move on then. In that case, we go to agenda item 12, and this is the update report. Back to Natalie.
Thank you, Chair. As members might have seen, it's quite thin on the ground, so I'm going to take that report as read and haven't got anything to bring to the table.
Do we have any comments on the update report? Go ahead, Councillor Timmins.
Hiya, thank you for putting this together. So just looking at the crime figures, I think it's great that in Pudsey and Valley and Wortley, the crime figures have come down, but I'm really concerned in Carvley and Farsley ward that they've increased significantly. Burglaries from residentials has actually doubled year to date against last year, and theft from motor vehicles has increased a significant amount as well. Since being elected, I've had quite a lot of feedback, particularly about antisocial behaviour, car crime at night. I've even dealt with a mother whose child has had the bicycle forcefully taken from him in broad daylight in the street. So I'm very concerned about getting that feedback and then seeing these figures. I will certainly be raising this in the community safety meetings, but in terms of a bit of feedback that I was hoping that you could get from me, please, is one, can we ask for antisocial behaviour figures to be included in this as a category? Because I seem to get more of that and it's not included in this report. So I think that's really important. And particularly for the 2 points in Carvley and Farsley, in terms of theft from a motor vehicle and burglaries, is it possible just for them to send a breakdown of each month so far and a breakdown of the localities? So Carvley, Farsley, Rodley, Pudsey Park as well, just so that we can try and see if there's a particular spike somewhere or it's a pattern, so that we can work effectively with the police and to raise awareness for our residents as well.
Thank you, Councillor Timmins. It's spot on the antisocial behaviour point as well. We get a lot of complaints about that. Natalie, anything to add?
I can absolutely take that away and ask the police. Yeah, no problem at all.
Unless there's anything else on the update report, I will move on. So now we've got the Youth Summit and the Youth Fund consultation also, Natalie.
Thank you, Chair. So this is just a quick report with some feedback from the Youth Summit, which was in December. So we had 34 young people that attended the Physical Youth Summit from 7 different schools and organisations. And from that then, where 12 projects have been funded through the YAF funding. 165 young people did the consultation, so not just at the Youth Summit, but also online and at Breeze events, etc. So we're looking to push that again this year and see if we can get more consultation. I'll be going out to a couple of youth services groups where there's older people that are harder to engage with, etc. There wasn't much feedback from the youth summits. It was all very positive. There wasn't much scope for things changing. But potentially they wanted a longer day. So something to think about next time, and more biscuits. That's what they asked for. So the top three then was sports activities, so things like breeze, things like football, and then mixed activity fun days such as breeze, dance and music. And so these are things to think about. We've got the youth summit to think about as well. Obviously that time of year again. So now we've got the champions. I'll be having those conversations with the chair and champions.
Councillor McCluskey.
Last year's was great. Really enjoyed it for the West. Though we didn't take any photos of it because of restrictions, I believed. But when I saw other areas, youth summits, there's loads of photos of kids in it.
That's right. It's just because this particular event that with some children that couldn't have the photo taken. That's the only reason. Otherwise we would have done it. But yeah, potentially this year we might be able to do more.
Any more contributions on the youth report? Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. Just as the champion for the last few years, I can't remember how many years I've done now. 4 or 5, 6 have I done? Yeah. Fantastic day as ever. So thanks to everyone involved, from yourselves and also the youth voice team that get involved and do some really fantastic activities. I always say at these, and it was the same this year, I think, as others. You were there, weren't you, Trish, with me, and Councillor Amanda Carter was there. Some of the hardest questions you ever get come from young people between 7 and 16 at this committee. Much harder than the ones you get from grown-ups. I think we were asked some very complicated questions around the climate emergency and how we were going to replace specific fuels, and whether we were thinking about hydrogen as an alternative fuel and various other things from some of the kids there. But it was absolutely fantastic. It's really good to see how much they engage with the activity around where they have a pot of money to spend on certain events, how they're thinking through that, how they're thinking about, well, this event 20 people can do in a session rather than just 5 people can do this other one. This would cater for more people, more age groups and such. It's a really useful session to come. So I think the feedback that we get is something we can really much take notice of in front of the committee in terms of the activities they've put forward. They haven't just thought what would be the funnest activities for them as individuals. They've thought of their whole classes, their whole age groups, and have thought about how you balance them all together. So really useful again. Good feedback to have that they'd like to stay for longer. And they get to meet the Lord Mayor, which is always a really useful bit, and go in the chamber as well, which I think is quite a handy bit of it. Their most positive part is always playing with the microphones, to be honest, as part of it as well. But we all like that when we're newly elected as well as members. So yeah, fantastic day. We'll look forward to how we can plan for the next one. Maybe we will look for a longer day, although they do have to be back at school by 3 o'clock for the parents to pick them up. So we'll see how we can fit that in.
Brilliant. Thank you, Councillor Carlisle. Are there any other contributions on this? Councillor Smith.
Yeah, I'd echo what Peter says. I mean, the young people that took part this year were very searching. I think is the way I'd describe them. Very, very switched on group, and it was a pleasure to be with them. But you know, a longer day perhaps would be a good thing. But you know, we'd have to fill that in a fun and engaging way, and I think that puts a lot of pressure then on officers and what have you. I think we could possibly do slightly longer in the chamber, because they did enjoy that, and it almost felt like a whistle-stop tour. And I think that could possibly be extended a little bit. But no, it was a great day. It's great that they're engaging, and it's even better that we're listening.
Thank you very much. I'm going to have to come up with tougher questions to ask you, aren't I? Do we have any more contributions on this report? Brilliant stuff. Thank you very much, Natalie. So, right, is there any other urgent business to raise? Great stuff. The date and time of the next meeting is going to be Monday, the 2nd of September. That's going to be at 1 p.m. and the venue's to be confirmed. Obviously, we're keen to be out in the community as much as possible. So can we definitely look at venues out in Carverley and Farsley, Pudsey, Farnley and Wortley?
Yeah.
Are you wanting it live streamed?
Yes. Go ahead, Councillor McCluskey.
Just I rely on public transport so the venues can have access to public transport, please. Thank you.
Okay, it's 6:54. We started 4 minutes late. That's 50 minutes, isn't it? So thank you very much for your time and thank you for making that such an efficient meeting.